Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
Westfield, Mass, 6:02 a.m. It is the end of May as you know it. May 31st, 2018. May will be in the history books later today.
Don't they call this May Day or something?
That's the 1st of May.
No, May Day
is the 1st of May? Okay.
1st of May. This is See Ya Later May Day. I don't know if that helps at all. But anyway, 50 degrees right now, so a little brisk, but beautiful. Sleeping with the windows open last night, absolutely gorgeous. Getting up to 77 today, although as the day goes on, the clouds will increase. Chance of showers right around the dinner time hour, which does not bode well for all of those Westfield High School kids who are going to prom tonight and want to do outdoor pictures. So,
right. Get those done early.
Which I am in that boat. So good luck and have fun to all those Westfield High School kids going to prom tonight. Be safe, number one. Tomorrow, Friday, June 1st. Going to be 83 degrees tomorrow, cloudy and rainy to start, and then the day gets better as it goes on. Saturday, June 2nd. How about this for a forecast, Pete?
Yes.
40% chance of no rain.
40% chance of no rain?
Instead of a 60% chance of rain?
Gotcha.
40% chance of no rain.
I was looking at the hour by hour, and it looks pretty good for the time where we're going to be outdoors.
Yeah, so Saturday is Whip City Brew Fest down on School Street. I believe tickets are still available at the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a brew fest, 21 and older.
I think it's $35 if you show up at the door. It was $30 in advance and $40 for the VIP in advance.
There you go.
Of course,
and leave it to Miss Tina.
is prepared.
She's got the goods. She's got the stuff. $40 for VIP admission, $30 for general admission, $10 if you're a designated driver. But those are all pre-sale. The prices do go up, I think, $5.
Yes.
Except for the designated driver. So it is a 21 and over event unless you are the designated driver, and then I guess it doesn't really matter how old you are, as long as you can drive. So Saturday, anyway, 40% chance of not rain, 85, and then we get into some weird weather, folks. Sunday, temperature drops back down to 73. Monday's high is barely 60. Same with Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So June does not come in so well. The long-range forecast for next week, Thursday is Westfield Technical Academy's graduation.
Correct.
The weather seems to be holding out for that at this point in time.
But remember how much Saturday's forecast. Originally, when we looked at the long range last week time, Saturday was going to rain all day.
So, right. So who the hell knows?
Right.
So next Thursday, June 7th, for Westfield Technical Academy graduation, the high temperature 63, partly sunny. Friday, Westfield High School graduation, the 8th, 72. This week, St. Mary's graduates tomorrow night, Friday, June 1st, along with Gateway, and then Saturday morning is Southwick, Tolland, Granville Regional High School. So got a lot over the course of the next week.
Season.
Yep. And then, the last of the proms is tonight. And let's take a quick, I always like to point this out. 4:44 a.m. is your first light. Sunrise was 5:18. So my alarm went off at 4:30. and it was starting to get bright. So
And just think, a couple weeks ago at 4:44 a.m., it was pitch dark when I was watching that launch in Virginia.
Absolutely. Well, it's in Virginia. You're a little bit west in the Eastern time zone. Sunset 8:19.
Do you want to debate that? You want me to look it up?
I don't care.
You got money on it?
No, I still owe you money. Sunset is 8:19. I love that. And we're looking at 15 hours of daylight and no tropical storms to report. So that's what's going on right now. It's 6:06 in the morning. My guest is a regular listener to the Westfield News Radio show. She's the only one, I think. No, my Aunt Betty. Sorry, Aunt Betty, I forgot you are a regular listener. So, and she is also a Wednesday morning host. So, good morning, Wake Up Wednesday, Tina. It's not Wake Up Wednesday. It's Good Morning. It's
Good morning.
So Tina Gorman from the Westfield Council on Aging is my guest this morning. She interviewed me a year ago. I'm interviewing her now. What we find, and Tina and I have had this conversation, is rarely do people interview the hosts.
Correct.
Because we always do the interview, which is always fun.
So,
but who the hell knows about us?
Right. So I was driving in this morning thinking, today I am the askee and not the asker.
Right. So, and I am
different hat.
Exactly. So, and it's interesting because when you and I talked about this a couple of months ago, I thought this was a perfect thing because, again, it's been a while since you've been on my show.
Right.
And a lot has changed.
Yes.
You got this new thing down there on Noble. I forget what that's called. It's like a shack or something.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Shack.
A lot has happened.
The Senior Shack. Ooh.
Yeah.
We got a new nickname. The Senior Shack. That not to be confused with the Love Shack,
Yeah,
from the B-52s.
Well,
You never know. You never know. So Tina Gorman is my guest, and I know the answer to this, but
Okay.
Tina is short for what?
Christine.
Christine.
With an E on the end.
Not a Christina.
No, thanks,
Not
Mom.
like Christina Lovelace.
No, I know.
Like
Thanks,
Kelly's.
Mom and Dad, for making that really confusing
So
for
how
everyone.
did you end up? Did they call you Tina from a
but
get-go?
I was christened Christine Jude, named after St. Jude, not Hey Jude. The Beatles had not come out with the song yet. Saint of the Impossible, because my mother had actually had 4 miscarriages between my older brother, I have 2 older brothers, and myself. But from the day I was brought back from the hospital, I was called Tina. So I didn't pick, they picked that.
Oh,
so
interesting.
and I kept saying to my parents, if you knew you were going to call me Tina, could you not have just done Christina?
Right.
Because it was very confusing all through school. But they didn't, and so here I am.
I didn't know the whole story, but
There you go.
Very nice. So
there it is.
We're here today because, as I mentioned, a lot has happened at the Westfield Senior Center since Tina was last guest on my show. Jokingly, you put up a new building.
Well, when I was guest on your show the last time, it was primarily because we had just started the capital campaign.
It's been a while.
To raise money to furnish the new senior center. So it has been a while, and certainly a lot has happened since the last time I was on your show.
And I don't know, you probably don't get a lot of chance. Well, I know you do, but a really in-depth discussion about what you do, what your staff does, the programs at the senior center. And that's sort of what this today is geared towards, because I want you as a host, weekly host, to also have an opportunity to talk about what you do. You do,
Sure.
because I got to know you several years ago. I've got to know the senior center, and I'm blown away by it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I think
I'm blown away by what the senior center offers. And again, I joke, my Aunt Betty listens to the show. She takes advantage of the senior center. And as I've gotten to know a lot of the other seniors, they rave about the programs and activities and the lunch and the socialism, that's socialism,
The socialization.
social
Socialization.
aspect. And it's such a tremendous asset for Westfield.
Yep.
But I got to ask you one question.
Sure.
Was it worth the build?
It was absolutely worth the build.
Very good. All right. Now we got
worth the
an
build.
hour and 51 minutes to...
All the sleepless nights, all the extra hours. Yes, it absolutely was.
I know one of the criticisms to you and the city was, we don't need that big a building.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to go there.
Yeah.
You're never going to get the amount of people that you say you're going to get. Have you gotten those people?
Well, I can. You know what? I pulled a few.
Can I keep queuing up this?
I pulled a few statistics. So this, and I'm always interested.
Keep queuing up this for all the people that said that we don't need that big of a building.
Right, there you go. Well, I pulled a few stats. So just prior to our move into the new senior center, we set up a new database system called My Senior Center, which is utilized throughout the Commonwealth. A lot of the different senior centers use that. So we started putting numbers in of our members right around the time, just a couple of weeks before we moved in. So last year, when I did my annual report, which is in August. So that was fiscal year to fiscal year. So July 1 to June 30th. Our total number of members in my senior center was 3,242. So 3,000 yes, was 3,242. Now we have, again, I checked this stat because I always say to people, we have 8,000 seniors in Westfield. That's actually based on the 2010 census.
Right.
Well, we know it's 2018, so we know we're climbing. So I checked last year, the stats of people 60 and older in Westfield from 2016 is 8,569.
Wow.
So last year, our My Senior Center database, our total number was 3,242. We've added since then 609 people. So our total of people utilizing the senior center since we've opened the doors is 3,851. So we're climbing very close to that 4,000 mark, which is roughly the half.
50,
it's 50%. In our old senior center, just to give you a basis of comparison, but the most that we ever serviced was just under 2,000. So it was roughly about 25% of the seniors that lived in the city. So we've pretty much almost doubled
So
that.
if you build it, they will come.
That is the mantra of all the directors throughout the Commonwealth. That is the mantra. If you build it, they will come.
And
they
I
certainly
know
have.
you did a tremendous amount of research before a shovel even went in the ground.
Correct.
How many different new senior centers through the Commonwealth did you actually visit or talk to about?
Oh God, talk to everybody. It's hard for me to put a number on that, Patrick. We had a building committee that was set up by then Mayor Knappich. Certainly with a lot of input from me. There was really nothing that was done on the building that didn't have my input. And in one sense, you think, well, that's kind of logical. You're the director of the Council on Aging. However, having spoken with other directors, there are senior centers, believe it or not, that were built, and some built around the same time we built the one in Westfield, where the director had virtually no input.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
How's that possible?
I know, it seems crazy. And unfortunately, they didn't get everything that they probably should have gotten. In some cases it was a matter of power and control. The town manager wanted to go with it, or the mayor or whoever it was. I think it was kind of foolish, but that's just my opinion. But anyway, so the building committee actually visited. I think we formally visited 5 senior centers. What we did was we tried to. When we set up the visits, I wanted to visit senior centers that were designed by different architects. So in other words, I didn't want to see 5 buildings that were all done by the same architect, because you can definitely walk into a building and get the flavor of who designed it. I mean, again, you sort of have to be in the field, but I can do that. I kind of know the style. But I'm on the advisory council and have been on the advisory council for MCOA, which is the Massachusetts Association of Councils on Aging. So that's at the state level. And we have our meetings kind of all over the state. We have conferences all over the state. So, and I do meetings over the state. So in addition to the ones that the board, the building committee had gone to, I mean, I'm all over the place. And we wanted to see, we were out in the eastern part of the state. We were in the central part of the state, certainly the western part of the state. I also looked at not just new senior centers, but also senior centers that had been renovated. East Longmeadow did a major renovation. Some of them had done major renos because when we started this process, Mayor Knappich and I were open to all ideas. So we were open to purchasing a building. Purchasing a building, gutting it, and, sort of seeing what we could do. And in most cases, what we found was that the renovation would just be more expensive than putting up a new building. And you then had the you have the restrictions of the outside walls. You have to renovate from within. So that didn't make sense. But, I say to people when they come into the building and, whether it's older adults or whether it's other professionals or just people visiting, and they say, oh, this is gorgeous, this is beautiful. And, my comment to them is generally, there's virtually nothing in this building that was by accident. We spent so much time. We did our due diligence. I asked a million questions. Every place that the building committee visited, we asked whoever was giving us the tour, if you had to do it over again, what would you do differently?
Right.
What mistakes did you make that you just didn't realize at the
things you don't
time?
know.
And, there are, and people have asked me that, and there are very few, I would say, in all honesty, in our building. I've come up with, I think, 3 since we've moved in there. Relatively minor, certainly nothing major. And in other buildings, there were some major issues. But we had to look at things like, the position of the building. We looked at the number of parking spaces. I mean, I had all kinds of people, all these Monday morning quarterbacks, the way you should have done this and you should have done that, and this would have made it better. But I honestly believe that we, in most cases, I'll pull the person aside and say, okay, so here, your suggestion, we thought of that. And this is why we didn't do it that way. We researched it. And most people will walk away going, oh, well, I didn't know that.
Right. And I'm sure in your line of work, there is no shortage of opinions.
No, not at all. Well, because, after all, they're older adults. They've lived a full life.
Right.
So
they know
it
more.
all.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I will give credit where credit is due. That is an amazing facility. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. We're pretty proud of it.
We're up on our first break already.
All right.
So we're cruising. It's 6:16 in the morning. You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show. Tina Gorman from the Westfield Council on Aging is my guest this morning. We're going to take our first break. Thanks some of our underwriters. We'll be right back.
Pretty woman walking down the street. Pretty woman, the kind I like to meet. Pretty woman, I don't believe you. You're not the truth. No one could look as good as you. Mercy. Pretty woman, won't you pardon me? Pretty woman, I couldn't help but see. Pretty woman, and you look lovely as can be. Are you lonely just like me? Pretty woman, stop a while. Pretty woman, talk a while. Pretty woman, give your smile to me. Pretty woman, yeah, yeah, yeah. Pretty woman, look my way. Pretty woman, say you'll stay with me. 'Cause I need you. I'll treat you right. Come with me, baby. Be mine tonight. Pretty woman, don't walk on by. Pretty woman, don't make me cry. Pretty woman, don't walk away. Hey. Okay, if that's the way it must be, okay. I guess I'll go on home, it's late. There'll be tomorrow night, but wait, what do I see? Is she walking back to me? Yeah, she's walking back to me. Oh, pretty woman.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its 3rd generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646.
It's Tuesday morning from 6 till 8. Wow, it's Tuesday with Bob Plass.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Barry.
Good morning again, everybody. You know, Pete, I got to get Courtney to redo that before she takes off for college, since that was freshman year of high school.
Why? You keep it as a memento.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because my oldest daughter, Maura, who's going to be a senior in college, she got her first cell phone.
When did that happen?
I know. She got her first cell phone, I think, in 8th grade.
Okay.
Right? So when she set up her voicemail, you know, she's got this little child's voice. Hi, this is Maura. I'm sorry I missed your call. And it's like a moment in time. I wanted to capture that.
Yeah.
Long gone.
Yes,
Missed that
of course.
one. So,
Of course.
I'll save this bump for you if you recut
there
it.
you go.
Okay.
6:21 a.m. Thursday, May 31st, 2018. 50 degrees outside your door today. Very, very beautiful morning. Birds were chirping early. Sun will be out this morning, but the clouds will roll in as the day goes on. Spot showers possibly this afternoon. So that's your forecast for today. We're live back here at Tiger's Pride Restaurant, where our new home for the Westfield News Radio Show, actually for all the Thursday shows. My guest this morning is Tina Gorman, Executive Director of the Westfield Council on Aging.
Correct.
Can you guys get shorter titles?
No, sorry.
So
Took me a long time to get that title,
I know.
Patrick.
Tina is my guest this morning. As I mentioned, you know, Tina's got her Thursday morning show. She and I are usually interviewing people, and you know, Tina was kind enough to have me on her show about a year ago, and she interviewed me, so you could learn a little bit more about me and the business and what I do.
Yeah.
Now's my turn to give back to Tina to learn more about the senior center. Tina pointed out in the first segment that the last time she was my guest we're just starting the capital campaign for building the current senior center, which has now been open 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
December 2015.
Well, it was actually, we opened the doors on October 26, 2015, but the ribbon cutting, that's correct. But the actual opening the doors, which the seniors will remember that, and it was a beautiful day. It was gorgeous. But yeah, we did the ribbon cutting.
It's, you know.
I do recall you fretting about the opening day.
I was fretting about
Just make
everything.
sure the door
I
opens.
fret, Pete. That's what I do. I fret all the time about everything.
So, in the last segment, you had said there were very, very few things that you wish you had done
couple
differently.
things.
What are they?
Okay, I can give you two off the top of my head, which are the same two that I said for the last 2 years, and I came up with a third one a few weeks ago, but now I can't even remember what it is, so that'll tell you how insignificant. The first one was in the Fireside Lounge. We did built-in shelves, because the Fireside Lounge, my vision of that was more or less a waiting area. Some senior centers actually build a library. I didn't want to do that because I have a real rule, and the whole time we were building the senior center, my rule was I don't want to reinvent the wheel. If Westfield already has something, we've got a beautiful Athenaeum. We don't need a library. But it is kind of fun to have a place where people can take out books and donate books and read books if they want to. So that's part of our Fireside Lounge, which is when you first walk in the senior center. It's a very open area. It's also a place
by the staircase.
Yep, right by the staircase. It's also we have a gas fireplace in there. Thank you to Westfield G&E for sponsoring that. But it's also a waiting area if people are waiting to see staff, you know, mostly Karen Noblet. That's like her personal reception area for her clients because they're nonstop. And then every once in a while, the rest of us will get someone. Or if somebody's waiting for a ride. Or we find a lot of times people utilize that room if they're waiting for their fitness class. You know, they've come early and they change their shoes and all that stuff. So we have these built-in shelves which go, we have them pretty much all around on two sides that are lower, from the floor to like waist
maybe
level.
waist, yeah.
Right, exactly. And then we kind of have, a space there. And then we have on the wall with the fireplace, we have shelves that go all the way up to the ceiling. And some of those are just decorative. So when we first moved in, we put the books all on the lower shelves. And then we had decorative things and certificates and stuff on the other shelves. And one of my, at that time, 94-year-old seniors and participants said to me he couldn't get to the books on the bottom shelf because, you have to bend down in order to do that. So his solution was, can you get us a small stool with wheels? Well, that had disaster written all over it. I said, that is never going to happen while I'm the director because I can see somebody taking a header, just falling. Yeah, right. That wasn't going to happen. But he really had an excellent point. We hadn't thought of that. So we took all of those decorative things, put them way high on the shelves.
Or way low.
Yeah, or way low. Well, we mostly put them up high and then we reorganized and we put the books so they were, kind of between your knees and your head, and sort of reorganize that. And then I sort of had to figure out, well, what do we put on those bottom shelves? So we mostly have baskets with magazines and things. So you could kind of bend over, pull out a basket because they're not too heavy, put it up on the counter and then grab whatever magazine you want. So, and again, the interesting thing was, Patrick, the other person that was very instrumental in the building of this building, believe it or not, was Tammy Taft, our city purchaser in Westfield, who, by the way, is... You have to have, I know you've had Tammy on the show. You have to get her back on the show because I think I had no idea big deal. So what is a city purchase? She buys stuff, right? Exactly.
I buy things.
Unbelievable. Yeah. She is unbelievable. She knows every law and every guideline and every rule. You have to do a request for unbelievable. Yeah. And I remember having conversations with Tammy and explaining to her, we're not going to build this building like we're putting up an office building for the city employees. And it's exactly things like this that you have to think of. Older adults who have a hard time bending over and then, getting back up without hurting themselves. Some of them have mobility issues and flexibility issues. So those are the things. And for the most part, we did a great job of thinking of all that stuff. But in this case, we didn't. So we had to kind of rearrange.
But not a major issue.
No, it's not a major issue. It's one of those things where I thought... I should have known that, I know better. Why didn't I think of that? The other thing, again, it was minor. And in fact, I've talked to someone in the building business who said this is actually a fairly easy fix. We have a room upstairs called the multipurpose room. It's a room that we generally use for meetings, support groups. It holds maybe comfortably, it probably holds 35 or 40 people. We have tables and chairs that we can rearrange and so forth. There's no sink in that room. And, when you have a meeting, you want to have coffee. Yeah. So it's just kind of one of those. It would be nice to. I mean, we bring the coffee in from downstairs, but we have a room underneath at our creativity center, which we use for art classes and things like that. And of course, it actually has two sinks in it and a counter, so it's just really convenient. But where the restroom is situated up on the second floor, we could. Somebody said, well, you could without without major construction or too much of a add a sink in there. So at some point, we may look at doing that. Again, it's not a major issue. It's more of, if you're going, really any meeting room, it didn't occur to me. I mean, anytime you're meeting, have a sink in there. Just, somebody spills something or you want to wash your hands.
Even just something small.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be big. It didn't have to be big. But anyway, so those are my two things. Relatively minor.
That is relatively minor. Mm-hmm. In the bigger scheme of things, and how many square feet is it?
It's 20,000 square feet.
So in 20,000 square feet, you put low shelves.
I know.
And then you missed the sink. Not missed the sink, but probably could have.
Would have been nice.
Bad at all.
No, it's not bad. I'm pretty okay with it.
I'm sure some of your fellow directors sit there and say, no, we should have put the staircase over there, which is major.
Exactly.
Or we should have added an elevator when we had the chance. Silly things.
When the committee, not to ding Agawam, but when the committee when we went to visit the Agawam Senior Center, the way that senior center is built, it's built kind of into a hill. The parking lot is at the bottom in the back. So if you want to go into the front door, you actually have to walk on the outside of the building. They have a sidewalk there. So you have to walk up, sort of an incline on the outside of the building to come around and walk in the front door. And of course, if you consider where our front door is, that's what their front door looks like. So you walk in and there's, receptionist and, there's all this stuff. What senior does that? They don't. They come in the back door through the parking lot, which is the lower level. Well, they didn't have any kind of a receptionist. They didn't have any kind of a desk. They didn't have. That's not their major entrance. That's a major. That's a problem.
Wow.
So they kind of had to spin things around and sort of set up some kind of a makeshift something downstairs when they realized, well, that's where everybody's coming in. They're not walking in from the sidewalk to the front of the building.
You think of your house. Who comes in the front door?
You got it. It's the same idea.
Right.
Yep, same idea. You have to think of where your parking lot is versus because, of course, it's the shortest distance. So wherever they're parking, that's the door that they're going to enter.
Well, I know you have multiple exits in the building.
We do.
Just because you have to.
Sure.
But there are no... The front door is the only door you can go in and out of unless there's an emergency.
Correct.
So you don't run into that issue.
Correct.
You can only go in one place.
Right, and our front door is adjacent to the parking lot.
Right.
So, that was just the way it was built. That's the way Holtley Oaks is built. I haven't been over to the...
And I'm sure the person in Agawam is...
Well, the interesting thing is, and we were talking about this off air, the director who built that building, was instrumental in building is no longer there. Wow. She left. Most, I said this off air, but I will say it on air. Most directors who build new senior centers leave very shortly after they cut the ribbon. In some cases, it's because, as you pointed out, Patrick, it's their last hurrah. They're ready to retire. They've been on the job for 10 or 15 years or longer in some cases. So this is the ultimate goal. This is what they wanted to do. Yeah. So that happens in some cases.
We had a mayor like that, I think.
In other cases, it's just because they're so burned out by the time they finish this project. I don't think anybody has any concept. I mean, people who have built their own homes might have a little bit of a concept.
Well, you're talking 2,500 square feet.
Exactly, versus 2,000. And it's also, when you're doing your own, you're doing it for you. If you make a mistake, you can be mad at yourself. But when you're dealing with
you got
other
3,800 people you're dealing with,
and $7.5 million that a city council was very on the fence about, providing. So you feel like there are a lot of eyes watching you. Yeah, there's 8,000 seniors watching me, 13 city councilors, and a mayor, and every other department head saying, "Okay, I hope you got this right." Exactly. So there's a lot of there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure and stress, and I think that there are some directors that, by the time you're done with it, you just kind of cave.
And I think there's probably more stress on building something like this than there is a school, because schools are for the most part, pretty cookie cutter. Here's, classrooms have to
Here's
be
your
this
recipe.
Exactly. Whereas you had to sort of design it from scratch.
We did. We did.
That's got to be tough.
Yeah, it was a challenge.
Completely shifting gears, I want to go back to a comment you made in passing in the first segment about how you measure people that come in and out of the senior center. You have something called My Senior Center?
Yep, that's our database.
What is that? And how does somebody sign up? How do you use it?
How do you work it? Okay. So a lot of the senior centers across the Commonwealth use the My Senior Center database. So when we have a new person who comes in and says, I'm here for the first time and I'm 62 years old or I'm 85 years old or however, so how do I become, first of all, they'll ask, how much does it cost? It doesn't cost anything to become a member. If and you don't, technically you don't have to be a resident of Westfield to become a member. Just like we have residents from Westfield who utilize Agawam and West Springfield and so forth. People get really upset about that because it's all, about the taxpayer dollars. But what I tell them is this: by and large, most people, the vast majority of seniors want to stay in their own community and use their own senior centers. Most of the time, if they're using a different senior center, it's for a particular program that center offers that ours doesn't, and vice versa.
Or
so
you offer it on Monday, they do it on Tuesday, somebody else does it Wednesday, you want to keep doing it.
Exactly. So, I sometimes have people who go over to West Springfield for a certain meal that they make that we don't make here. So, once a month they're going over there. So same thing. But anyway, so there is no cost to it. They come in, we give them a sheet, like a real piece of paper. It's not virtual, it's not online. And they give us some basic information. They give us their name, their address, their phone number, if they have an email address. and any kind of medical information they want to give us if they have an allergy, if they have like a food allergy or something, that might be helpful to know. But one of the most important things is an emergency contact person, because unfortunately it's a senior center. We do call 911 probably more than the general public, and there is nothing more discouraging than calling 911 and then either not having an emergency. If I have to send somebody up to Bay State Noble Hospital, I want to be able to let somebody's kids or spouse somebody know. So we need that emergency contact information. So they fill that out in, pencil and paper. And then we take that information, and my principal clerk, Carol Shannon, puts that into our database. And it goes in. And that way, if I need to get, your mom's phone number, I can go into the database and say, oh, okay, I know her name and here's her phone number and I need to call her about something. So that's how we track it. And then what happens is people, once we get it into the database, we have a little, scan card that goes on your keychain. And the next time somebody comes in, they'll say, well, last time I was here, I filled out the paperwork. And we'll say, oh, good. Okay, we're going to give you a scan card. We mark it Westfield.
Kind of like one of those shopper cards.
And it's hysterical because I can't tell you how many people pull out their big Y one and try and scan it. That's like the joke of the senior center. No, the big Y scan card doesn't work on our kiosk. You gotta find that My Senior Center one.
The shortstop thing.
No, shortstop's not working. So, and so they scan in. And when they scan in, there's a computer screen. And each day the screen changes. So each day has whether you're just visiting, if you're there for any specific program, I'm here to see the wellness nurse, or I'm here for a fitness class, or whatever the class is. So you just touch. It's a touch screen. You just touch whatever you're participating in, and then you click finish, and then that all goes into the database. So I can go in and say to Carol, which is now it's budget season. Exactly. That's exactly right. Or how many. One of the things I'm going to be asking Carol now is look over the last 12 months, and what's our average usage in a week? What's our average usage in a day? What's our average usage in a month? Because those numbers are important when we go to budget, to say, okay, well, here's
just the ebbs and flows of different programs too.
We'll look at the lunch program and okay, how are we doing there, and where's the money going, and so forth. So
very good, very good. It's time for our next break. It's 6:37. I know we're cruising, Tina.
We are cruising.
It's 6:37 in the morning. It's Thursday, May 31st. The end of May, as you know it, is today. Tomorrow starts June. And I'd like to say, summertime, but looking at the forecast for next week, ain't looking so good.
Good running weather.
Good running weather.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Tried
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM, Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Barry.
Good morning again, everybody. It's 6:43 a.m., Thursday, May 31st, 2018. Temperature's gone up. It's gone up 5 degrees in an hour. So we're at 53 degrees. It's still cool out, and it will get up to 77 today or so. Clear, bright and clear skies now, but as the day goes on, after lunchtime near the dinner hour, the clouds will increase. There might be a chance of a stray passing shower, but very, very rare chance of that. As you get into the overnight hours, daybreak tomorrow morning, we'll have a little bit of rain, probably on your commute in, and then that will dissipate by midday. Tomorrow, Friday, June 1st, 83 degrees is your high. St. Mary's graduation and Gateway graduation are both tomorrow night. Saturday morning, June 2nd, is my weather app just stopped. It's just...
There's no weather on June 2nd. We won't have any.
The end of the world is tomorrow.
Not to worry.
Yeah, so Saturday will not happen.
Breaking news on the Westfield News Show.
Exactly.
If you're heading out, for some reason my weather app just stopped. But anyway, Saturday, Southwick Tolland Granville Regional High School graduates Saturday morning. That most likely will be moved. It could be moved indoors. I don't know. The rain it's questionable.
Game time decision.
Yeah, I hate to say
Actually, you know what? When they move something like that indoors, they really have to know by about 9 o'clock in the morning.
Sure. Well, and graduation, I think, is 10. So it's
so they have to know about 6 o'clock in the morning.
I was going to say, before 9.
But according to my weather app, the rain, not rain, the chance of showers looks like it's midday. So Southwick's graduation is going to be indoors, outdoors, going to be questionable. And then Sunday, a cold front comes in. Sunday's only 73 degrees. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 30, barely getting into the 60s for your high temperature. So, but again, that's far enough in advance. Who knows what that could change a lot between now and then.
It's New England.
Yeah, wait around a couple minutes. It's 6:45 a.m. Thursday, May 31st. We're live back here at Tiger's Pride Restaurant at Westfield Technical Academy. We will be here throughout the summer, right, Pete? Just because school's closed?
Once the school finishes and the school finishes shows, we'll be up at the studio.
Oh, we're going up to studio.
Yes.
So
because they'll be doing floors and things in here, and it won't be really conducive to doing this.
I'm glad somebody told me that.
There you go. We have new chairs. We have new chairs in the studio, Patrick. So you'll enjoy them.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I was there.
Yeah, you were there for something.
I was there for something, and I can't remember what it was. But yes,
you will be there Friday. Are you not filling in for Mark
That's
Auerbach?
right. I got to go up there on Friday. I am filling in for Mr. Auerbach tomorrow morning, 8 to 9.
Yes.
No, next Friday, 8 to 9.
Is it next Friday?
The 8th, yes.
Okay.
Friday the 8th, 8 to 9. Yeah, because next Friday night, the 8th, is Westfield High School graduation. Friday morning, they do a big ceremony at the high school.
Senior awards.
I can't go because I'm subbing for Mr. Auerbach.
Yes.
Sean Farley from UMass Fine Arts Center is going to be my guest next Friday.
Nice. It'll be
Mark's
fun, yeah.
guest, you know what I mean.
Yes.
Your guest.
Yes.
Whatever. So, but anyway, we're live back here at Tiger's Pride Restaurant. Tina Gorman, Executive Director for the Westfield Council on Aging, is my guest this morning. You said we were talking about My Senior Center sign-in program or sign-in database. There's no cost to be a senior.
Yeah,
Well,
there's no cost to be a
there's
senior.
a lot of
you
cost
can
being a
turn
senior,
60 and it doesn't cost you anything. No,
So-
there's no cost to be a member of the Senior Center. That's correct.
And again, you just answered my next question. You have to be 60 and older?
Yeah, so
So do you have bouncers that check IDs? Or?
We do. I have greeters that when we jokingly refer to them as the bouncers.
That's funny.
And the way that works, Patrick, is Massachusetts considers an older adult to be 60 and older, and for the most part, the senior centers were built for older adults. That doesn't mean that we don't let younger people in the building.
I've been in.
Yeah, that's right.
I've seen John Velas in there.
Yes, John Velas
Mayor
is
Sullivan
there.
is-
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, we have younger people that come in. And we also have people with disabilities who are younger that who are members. That's okay under the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, guidelines or rules. The only thing that we do warn people about is if you're under 60, if we have certain programs that are grant funded and under the grant, we've applied to them as, because we provide services for people 60 and older. So there may be some grant funded programs that we say to people, if you're under 60, you can't participate in if that's the way the grant was written.
And I'm
for
sure-
the most part, obviously all the programs and activities are designed for people who are older.
And if there is, for some reason, somebody under, priority is given to the older person.
Correct.
Too, right? So,
Yeah, that's the other thing, too.
You're
So
59 and a 60-year-old signs up.
That's
Sorry,
correct.
You're up.
That's correct. So if we have, if we're going to offer a workshop and we cap it, say, at 25 people, if we don't have 25 people a day or so beforehand, and we have somebody who's younger who wants to participate, that's fine. But I'm not going to bump somebody who's 80 because somebody who's 45 decided, hey, this would be really interesting.
Right,
I want to come to this. So, those are kind of the, the
So
rules.
some of the guidelines. Okay,
The
so
guidelines.
if it doesn't cost individuals anything to be a
member.
how does everything get funded? You mentioned
Yeah,
just
how do-
in passing some grant monies, but who pays for the meals? I mean, where
Okay.
does how does everything happen there if nobody pays for it?
Well, I always like to say we're a frugal lot, so we work really hard. We offer the programs and activities offered at the Senior Center are generally low cost or no cost. So there are some programs that, lunch, for instance, lunch. So lunch costs $3.
No matter what it is, no matter what's being served.
The only time that it's a different price is if it's combined with a special event. Like we just had our Mother's Day luncheon, our Mother's Day dance extravaganza luncheon last week. We had the Small Planet Dancers for entertainment. So those tickets are $5 and we sell those in advance. Normally for our lunches, it's first come, first serve. So you can get your lunch ticket when the doors to the Senior Center open at 8:30. It's $3. And we have people who come in if it's a very popular meal and they know we're going to sell out because we do cap it. If it's a popular meal, we know what the popular meals are, so we make the cap as high as we can for the workers that we have, the staff that I have, and also for the volunteers that we have on any given day. So we have, for instance, in the kitchen, we generally have one volunteer who helps in the kitchen, like with food preparation. We'll have another volunteer who helps with dishwashing and things like that. So they'll come in later after the meal is served. And then we have other volunteers who are the servers. They work in the great room. They're not back in the kitchen preparing. They're actually doing the serving because we don't, because we serve meals. We serve it like it's a restaurant.
Okay. So it's not, you got to get up, go to the buffet.
No, it's not exactly.
Okay.
It's not sort of cafeteria style.
Okay.
We find that we did that at the old Senior Center, and that was more of a space issue. But and here again, so just so that people have like an understanding of this, when we hired the our kitchen manager, who was Joanne Spear, we hired Joanne just prior to leaving the old Senior Center, and because I wanted to give her time to kind of develop the new senior center kitchen. I mean, I don't know anything about a commercial kitchen.
You need somebody,
So you need somebody who knows what she's doing. And Joanne had a very strong background. But one of the questions that came up was, okay, in the old senior center, we had people come up and, sort of, we kind of did it sort of cafeteria style. But we had a number of people that was problematic for them. They have walkers. How do you carry
a tray?
Yeah, tray. Or we didn't even have trays. So how do you carry just like here's your dish, with a walker.
Here's your dish, your drink.
Right, exactly. So you got all this stuff. So your utensils. So Joanne visited 6 different senior centers locally at lunchtime to see how they operated. She spoke with directors and she spoke with other kitchen managers to find out how do you do it, what works, what doesn't. She came back after 6 and she went to all the locals, West Springfield, Agawam, Ludlow, wherever, Chicopee, just, wherever. I just sent her, I said, okay, she set up the appointment. She went. And she came back and she said her most helpful was going to Ludlow. And I actually know the director in Ludlow very well. She was a former student of mine when I was teaching at Springfield College, but has more experience under her belt as a director. She's been a director longer than I have, yeah. But anyway, Jody said to, her name is Jody Zepka. Jody said to Joanne, she said, trust me, I have tried every way there is to do this lunch thing.
Right.
She said, so I have settled on, this is what we've been doing for the last couple of years. We feel like this is the best method. So, I'm not about to reinvent the wheel. Right. Neither's Joanne. So we brought that back. And what they do is, she said, you get 3 serving carts, which we have. You get servers, your volunteer servers. So so you have your table numbers, and so your servers have, just like in a restaurant, they have their table. So you've got table, 1, 3, and 5. You have evens, I have odds. We have them work in teams. So we generally have 6 people at a table. So you can, we got carts so that we could put 6 meals on a cart, and then we just wheel it out and serve it that way. So that way your servers are not trying to juggle things and carry things. Yeah. It's all on a cart. Your seniors who have mobility issues or, any kind of balance issues, or, they don't have to worry about it. It's served. And when they're done, we just say to them, just like in a restaurant, you just kind of push your meal, your dirty dishes to the center, and we will come around and clean. And it also gives people an opportunity. We have a lot of people who want to volunteer at the senior center.
Right.
So those are some volunteer opportunities. And so our servers are great because we have, people who, they serve every Tuesday. I have a couple people that work. I don't think any of them work more than 2 days a week. We don't want to burn anybody out. We don't have anybody coming in 5 days.
It should be fun.
Yeah, exactly. It should be fun. And then the servers, when they get done serving everybody, then they go over and they eat. And then the other thing that we learned in the new senior center is that I don't want to rush people through a meal, because this is a socialization time. And it's the same as, again, think of going to a restaurant. Yeah. So you go to a restaurant, you're sitting there, you finish your meal, and now you're in the middle of a conversation. And so, we just let people, so we generally don't start doing cleanup unless we have to use the great room for a program right afterward. But we try not to start doing cleanup until about 1:45. And even then, once we clear the table, like I'll say to people, you can sit and chat. If we are trying to, get ready for a program, sometimes we'll say to them, why don't you shift over into the fireside lounge, just because, we have to get ready for something. Well, we try hard to just let people kind of relax and enjoy it.
You don't have multiple seatings. You have, there's enough tables and chairs.
Correct.
And is lunch at noon?
Yes, we serve at noon, and we let people know that. So as I started to say, probably 15 minutes ago, so people come in, they buy their lunch ticket. I have some people who will come in first thing in the morning. I can tell you all the popular lunch. They're like the sellouts: turkey dinner, meatloaf, pork chops, pot roast. It's all the comfort food.
Right.
So they'll come in, they'll get their ticket, and then, they might go do their grocery shopping. They might, do something, they go upstairs and play pool, or, whatever they want to do at the senior center. But a lot of them will come and get their ticket and then, go take a walk, or, come back a couple hours later. Right. And usually they'll start coming in for lunch anywhere like 11:15, 11:30, because again,
they got to be early.
Well, it's not so much that, but it is a socialization piece. So it's really just, it's extending the socialization socialization part of it.
You and your friends gather at the table, you
Exactly.
catch up. Next thing you know, meals are coming out.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how it worked. But back to your original question about funding. So the meals are $3. And the lunch program is, believe it or not, we don't lose money on the lunch program. We have, I give total credit to Joanne. She is amazing she negotiates with our food vendors, and she's a tough cookie. I mean, she'll say to them, nope, I'm not going to get that from you because I got another vendor. I mean, we work with about 3 different vendors.
Good.
We shop at Price Right. We shop at Big Y, especially when it's like buy one, get 2 free. So you really have to be up on all of that stuff. And people are amazed. Other directors are amazed. It's like, how are you doing this? Because we do not, we don't participate. There's a food commodities program, and most of the other senior centers participate in that because you can get food at a very discounted rate. However, and the reason that Joanne and I looked at it, and we went through all of the numbers and we looked at everything, and I said, I really don't want to do that because once you participate in that, it's government funded, and now you have all these rules and guidelines and restrictions and, menu approval and all of this other stuff, all the other hoops that you have to jump through. My feeling was, let's try to do this without that. We didn't do it at the old senior center. Let's see what we can do here. But then again, we weren't feeding the number that we're feeding now. But each year at the end of the year, I've got Carol will do this for me quarterly, where she'll I'm like, where are we on the budget? How are we doing? And with me, as long as we're not losing money. The other thing that we did at the new senior center that we never did at the old center is we have what we call extra meals. So if we have, after everyone has been served, if we have meals left over, people sign up. They can sign up ahead of time, including staff. So they can sign up. We have a sign-up sheet in the great room. If there are any extra meals, you pay the $3 and we'll box it up for you and you can take it home. Some people will take it home for a spouse. They'll take it home for a friend who's not feeling well. My staff, I take it home for Gary because if he's not eating Joanne's food, he's not eating because I don't get home until some ridiculous hour because I'm at the center. So there again, we're just trying to make sure that we're at least breaking even here. But that's worked out really well. And that's on a first come, first serve. So if we have 7 meals left over and we had 10 people, that it's the first 7, and that includes staff. So, I'll go running in there. If I know it's something that Gary really likes, it's like, I try to get to be the first. I want 2 meals for, Gorman here.
That's funny.
So we don't call them takeout because we don't really do takeout. These are just extra meals. Yep. Sometimes we don't have any. I might have a list of 12 people. Your turkey dinner, forget it. You're not getting it. There are no extras.
Too funny. Yeah. It is just about 7 o'clock. Our first hour, Tina.
I know. Patrick, I am not at a loss for words.
We may have to preempt in the flow with Rob and Joe and go to the 9 o'clock hour now.
There you go.
It is just about 7 a.m. We're going to take a break. Thank some of our underwriters, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Walking in the sand, walking hand in hand. The night was so exciting, smile was so inviting. Then he touched my cheek with his fingertips, softly, softly with me. Remember, walking in the sand. Remember, walking hand in hand. Remember, the night was so exciting. Remember, the smile was so inviting. Remember, then you touched my cheek. Remember.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Barry.
Good morning, Westfield. 7:03 a.m., Thursday, May 31st, 2018. Pretty much 5 months of the year are in the history books. We're on to the remaining 7. June 1st is tomorrow morning. You'll wake up bright and early on June 1st with Jay. Geez, I'm drawing a blank. What's the name of Jay's show?
JP's Talk About Town.
JP's Talk About Town. Good Lord. I'm drawing a blank on that. It's still early. It is currently 53 degrees right now outside your door. Bright, clear sunshine, barely a puff of a breeze. It's cool. The birds are chirping. This is like heaven. It's beautiful out there today. 77 will be your high. As we get closer to the dinner time hour, clouds will roll in. Very, very rare chance of a spot sprinkle this afternoon. But we will, as the overnight hours lead into daybreak tomorrow, you'll probably see a little bit of rain on your commute tomorrow morning, and then that'll disappear quickly. Tomorrow afternoon will be nicer, and then 83 is your high tomorrow on Friday, June 1st. Saturday the 2nd, getting up to 85 degrees with a 40% chance of no rain.
Okay.
See, the 60% chance of rain is so negative.
But if you look at the hour by hour,
it's a 40%.
The window that we want is really good. The hour by hour.
40 out of 100 days that have this forecast have no rain.
Oh, for cripe's sakes.
Positive, Pete, positive. And then Saturday, as I said, is 85 degrees. Once we get through Saturday, if a cold front comes through, Sunday, your high is 73, and then Monday through Thursday next week, we barely get into the 60s as your high temperature. So June seems to be coming in like...
March.
Yeah, kind of like May, actually. It's like a month. Well, somebody else said that. We're about a month behind because May was like April was like March, and now June's coming in.
Yes.
Kind of it's awful.
Chilly.
So we are live back here at the Tiger's Pride restaurant at 7:05 a.m.
Which is open today at 10:45.
Which is open today at 10:45, so you might have heard. What is on the menu today, Pete?
I don't know. I can go look if you want me to.
I
believe they have menus over there.
They'll go over it with Robin, Joe, and the Flow, right?
In the Flow with Robin, Joe.
On Tiger Talk,
Yeah. And you know how they got that name?
No.
Because when Joe rides in a convertible, his hair flows in the breeze.
Oh, there you go. Absolutely. For listeners who don't know, Joe has not
the theme to the show is Kojak. That's all you need to know.
Joe has less hair than his newborn child.
There you go.
So we're live, as I said, back here at Tigers Pride. Tina Gorman, Executive Director of the Westfield Council on Aging, is my guest this morning. Good morning again.
Good morning.
Thanks for getting up 2 days in a row.
Yeah, I know. I you know what? I have a whole new respect for what Pete does, because Pete does this 5 days a week.
My God.
Yeah. You're welcome.
2 days is.
Thank you for the opportunity
No, it's always fun. It's always
share.
It's always
what we
good
do.
to hear more about what our hosts do.
Mm-hmm. It's all the behind the scenes stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean, we have real lives, we have real jobs that we go
do.
to when we sign off. And I like to think, when I look at all the hosts, through WSKB, we all have pretty important jobs. I mean, Buster McMahon's a pharmacist.
Yes.
We all do important things. So, and we do this for fun.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
you have been funning it for the longest amount of time.
Yeah. Yep.
You are
Going
just
on 4
about
years.
on your 4-year anniversary.
Yep.
Do you remember
Coming
the
up there.
day?
It's in June, and I know the former mayor, Dan Knappig, and I checked this out last year, and I can go back and look at the day. It was early June, though. So, yep. Mm-hmm. So it's coming on 4 years.
I was June 30th, 2014.
Yeah. I want to say we were right around like the 4th or the 3rd or something like that. And it was hysterical.
Mark Boardman and Bob McKeon. Mark Boardman from Rotary and Bob McKeon from Stanley Park were my very first guests, because that was a Thursday, because that Saturday night were the fireworks in Westfield.
Oh, there you go.
So we were talking fireworks. So
Dan
flies.
Dan and I were winging it. Well, he was.
Well, Dan was winging
He
it.
was winging it. I was like the
I'll start
prep.
getting the text from
I was
him
the
now.
prep of the show.
You were the color commentary,
I was
right?
yeah, exactly.
It's,
sort
too
of the
funny.
Kathy Lee Gifford of the morning show with
Not the Hoda?
Regis over there.
I don't know.
I don't watch. I haven't watched
I have
daytime
no
television since since Grace was a baby.
awful.
So that was Kathy and Regis. I don't know who's on now.
Television in general
is awful.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't have time to watch much of it, and that's okay.
It's funny because when we were switching at my house to Whip City Fiber, and and I remember I've had Dan Howard on the. You have this conversation. You really sit there and you have to think about, what do I watch?
What do you watch? Yeah,
because it's different.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, Bruins and Red Sox.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gary and I watch a lot of sports.
It's other than that, in the news.
Right.
In the news, you get over the air.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for getting up early. I appreciate it. Before we took a break, our most recent break, we were talking about things that happen at the senior center. How do things get paid for? And in the meals and some programs, there is a cost to the senior center members. But everything else, where does that come from? I mean, how does a place sustain itself?
So let me talk a little bit about the financial piece of it, Patrick, just so that the listeners know. For the most part, as I said, we try to charge a minimal amount for some of the programs that need a fee, and then most of the programs are for free, or most of the activities are for free. One of the areas where we do charge is in the fitness room. So there is a charge for all of the fitness programs.
Is that because you bring in an instructor?
Correct.
And that person? Okay.
Right. Correct. So we have 4 instructors that we have a contract with the YMCA, which again,
interesting.
Exactly. Well, interestingly, before the new senior center was even built, I met with Andrea Allard, who's the executive director of the Y, and Carol Palmer. I think that was the initial meeting, was with Andrea and Carol.
And I think Carol's retiring.
She is retiring. We're not going to talk about that, because that is I can't even begin to tell you what a loss that is.
But I did hear she got a full-time job on Days of Our Lives.
Oh, it's no kidding. I was hoping that she was going to be like
America's Next Voice or whatever.
The first one to sign up as a volunteer at the senior center. That's what I'm hoping. But anyway, I met with them, and again, this was way before we didn't even have the shovel in the ground, and we were talking about how can we partner, because I knew that we were going to have a fitness room. And again, going back to the first hour when we were talking about the design of the building and what did we want and so forth, one of the things that I found was a lot of the senior centers across the Commonwealth have equipment, and people have asked me, well, why don't you have fitness equipment here? Well, that adds a cost, not only for the initial cost of the equipment, but the maintenance, the upkeep, and the liability.
That's very expensive.
And it would mean that I would have to have a staff member in there. Right. So, and we live in Westfield. We have Expert Fitness, Planet Fitness, 24-hour fitness,
You've
the
got the
YMCA.
Y,
We've got the Boys and Girls Club, and we can use the pool.
Right.
So again, I was like, we're not reinventing the wheel. And because for the 10 years before we moved into the new senior center that I was here, what people were requesting, the kinds of fitness programs programs that they were asking for, what they needed was a big room. They didn't need equipment. They needed a big room.
Space.
They wanted line dancing. They wanted things like Tai Chi. They wanted, things where they just
Yoga.
needed space.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the way we designed it. We spent a lot of money on the floor in there, which is why I am an absolute nutcase about keeping that floor. Because, the thing is I don't have a big budget for maintenance and repair.
Right.
So.
Well, you told me the story of somebody complaining to you. Why do I have to take my shoes off
exactly.
every time I go in there?
Yeah.
Shit,
So
that's-
I'll share that story on air. So what happened is
That
we
was
set
funny.
up a rule, and actually this policy was the recommendation of Carol Palmer and Sue Woods and Andrea from the Y. They said if you're going to try to preserve your floor. And most dance studios, almost all dance
you can't
studios,
wear
you cannot wear your street shoes on their floor. People dance barefoot. Well, I've got people who do yoga barefoot.
Right.
So anyway, you have to change your shoes when you come in before you go onto the floor. You can't go in with your street shoes. I mean, we live in New England. We've got sand, we've got salt,
sand,
we've got
yeah.
pollen, we've got gravel, we've got, you name it. Gum. Yep. And so anyway, they said that has to be your policy from the get-go. So we did that. Before we even opened the door, the signs were on there, that you have to change your shoes. But anyway, going back to the contract with the Y. So I set up a contract with the YMCA. So the YMCA sponsored programs are, we have 2 Tai Chi programs, beginner and progressive. We have chair yoga, which is by far our most popular fitness class.
Yeah.
We have three classes of that. And then we have a general fitness for older adults called Keep It Moving that Sue Woods teaches. So it's a little cardio, it's a little balance, a little bit strength training, and that's also a very popular class. So we contract with the Y, so they bill us, and for the cost of those classes, we keep that to either $2 or $3 per class, and we do it in a session, a 5-week session. So that if it's $2 a class, it's 20. Yeah, right, exactly. So it's so we do it that way. Well, it meets twice a week, so it's $20.
okay.
They each meet. So, but it keeps it easy when they sign up. Tai Chi's a little bit more.
And,
but-
and it's smart that you're doing short segment classes, so 5 weeks rather than 10 weeks or 20 weeks.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up, Patrick, because the
But let me
last
guess,
time
somebody suggested something different.
somebody complained the last time we had signups. Well, if you had the sessions longer, then we wouldn't have to do this sign up thing every, 5 weeks. So it made perfect sense to this woman that we have 10-week sessions and, you just pay more money. I have 2 problems with that. Number one is what people have to remember is I have a mixed bag. I have people over 60. Some are living strictly on Social Security. It's a fixed income. They're barely making it. So for
They
them,
might only be able to do it twice a year or
exactly.
3 times a year.
So
They
for
can't do it.
them, $20 is they have to really factor that into their budgeting.
Difference
Okay.
between eating lunch.
Right. But if I made it $40 and we did it every 10 weeks, they're out.
Right.
They can't do that.
Yeah.
They can do the 20. They can't do the 40. The other problem is
Because you have to
that
pay up front, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those classes, you have to pay up front. The other problem is that I have people. We have a wait list. I mean, as I said, our most popular class is chair yoga.
That's
At
early.
the time,
We got a
okay.
couple minutes.
I have a wait list, and so that would mean and we do prioritize. If you're on the wait list if you didn't make this class, you're the first priority for the next class if you want to take it. Well, that means they would have to wait 10 weeks instead of
Right.
5 weeks.
Right.
So it's great for you if you can afford it and you're not on the wait list. That sounds like a great plan. And that's
But
what
you're
I tell.
trying to be fair and equitable to everybody.
Exactly. And
right?
that's what I
Provided-
tell people. Everybody who has a complaint about the way I do things or has a suggestion for how I could do it better. First of all, if it is a suggestion for how we could do it better and it is something that we haven't thought about, we'll absolutely make those changes, and we've done that. But if there's a reason why we're doing it the way we're doing it,
Just ask.
I say to people, you're looking at it from one person's perspective, yours. And this is what makes sense to you. This is what's convenient for you, and this is what you want. I'm looking at it from
3,800 people.
Exactly. 3,800 people coming in
Right.
here, and I'm trying to factor all of that in. I've got people from all walks of life. I've got people that are very wealthy and could afford, $100 or whatever. Yeah, exactly. But I've got people, over here who absolutely can't. I've got people who are very able-bodied. I've got people who are not very able-bodied at all, and probably I've got people who are in assisted living who come to the senior center, who used to be in their own homes, moved to assisted living, but they have a lot of friends at the senior center, so they take the PVTA van and they come over to the senior center. So I'm trying to accommodate all of you. I've got men, I've got women. They're very different in what they decide.
60-year-olds, 95-year-olds, and everybody
there you
in between.
go. We've got 60 and older. My youngest is 60. My oldest that comes on a regular basis is Louise Fleming. She's 102 now, I think. So 101 or 102. 102.
You before we go to break, I just want you pointed this out to me. One of the first times you and I met was. And this was probably 5 years ago. So I was 45.
Okay.
And you said, okay, do you have the exact same interests as a 15-year-old?
Yeah.
And I go, what?
Yeah.
And you go, that's what I deal with.
Yeah. It's a 30-year difference.
30-year difference.
It's a 60-year-old and a 90-year-old.
Yeah.
30 years. But they all fall under senior citizen.
Right. And that put it in perspective for me.
Yeah.
Because do I have the same needs and motivations as a 15-year-old?
Yeah.
I'm like,
of course
no.
you don't.
Right.
Of course
so
you
why
don't.
would everybody over the age of 60 have the same needs?
Well, it's kind of like saying, well, you have school-age children. Well, does that mean they're in preschool or high school? Because there's a really big difference.
Oh, absolutely.
And we know that, and that's logical to us. But we as a society, and so it's like, well, they're senior citizens.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a senior citizen. I turned 60 last year.
That's right.
So, I don't have the same needs
Are you a member?
I am a member, and that was part of the initiation. On my birthday party, we did my membership. It was a very big
funny.
deal. Oh yeah, my staff was all there. Everybody's laughing, rolling around in the laughing.
Funny.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
funny.
Oh, absolutely.
When I never got to it. My brother turned 60 last October, and I so wanted to sign it all out and send it to him.
Ceremony, it's like, well, I have no problem. My 60s have been great so far.
Well, yeah, I have my Aunt Betty's son Jim.
Yep.
He's same age as my brother. So, and it's one of those things where I'm not going to the senior center. I'm not old enough. My mother still says that. She's 85, right?
Yeah.
But once you go there,
yeah,
you bump into people you grew up with, older siblings. Because again, if you're 60, some of the older siblings of people you grew up with are down there.
Listen, my saying is, this is not your grandmother's senior center.
It's really not.
I mean, we've got people doing all
Tai
kinds
Chi.
of Tai Chi.
I can't even spell Tai Chi.
Yoga. Yeah, exactly. Took me a while for the newsletter, but yep, I have
so
it.
It is 7:18. We're coming up on our break. Timing
There
it
it
perfectly
is.
because here comes school announcements and and so forth. We'll be right back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org. Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours. We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM, Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Barry.
Good morning again, everybody. 7:25 a.m. It is Thursday, May 31st, 2018, the final day of May.
That's it.
It's sad. Spring's behind us. Summer's on the way. Thank God for summertime temperatures. Monday's going to be 60.
There you go.
So if you step outside your door right now, it is 60 degrees. This is your high temperature the beginning of next week.
See, I'm good with that, but you don't.
Ding, 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 we have a winner.
I'm good with that, but you don't like that. You
Michael
like,
Buston
you like the
McMahon's good
warmer
with
the
that,
better.
too.
I'm fine with it.
I'm a much warmer guy. So Pete, I need you. I'm going to cue you to play that ding 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 again.
Okay.
Okay. So I failed to mention this earlier. So the Westfield News partnered with the Greater Westfield YMCA, Andrea Allard and their folks. This Saturday night is the Zach Brown Tribute Band fundraiser. It's the YMCA's annual fundraiser this Saturday night. And we did a contest for one person to win 2 tickets.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I kept reading that in the paper.
Absolutely. And we have a winner. Jennifer Santos was our winner, so she won
cool.
2
She
tickets.
must be really excited.
That's awesome. That's going to be a fun show.
Unfortunately, I can't make it this Saturday night, so the
Mr. Peg Luca will be doing lighting and sound for that one.
Yeah, great.
You and I know you've said this on your show. I've said it on my show countless times. If you're bored in Westfield, you're clueless.
It's your own fault.
Exactly. There's so many things going on, from, Wow, It's Cabaret to Zach Brown Tribute Band to the Brew Fest. I mean, they're just, and now this season now that we're almost in June, it's just going to get crazy.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I don't think I have
really
a free weekend between now and when I leave for the World Series.
It never slows down.
I actually had some friends of mine. We were trying to plan something for a weekend, and I
you
looked
and
at
I
the
were
calendar,
trying to plan the Berkshire Theater Group.
Yeah,
It's like,
we wanted to go see the Capitol
2 nights
Steps.
available in July.
I know. I said, and that's it.
Or not Berkshire
And,
Theater.
the Capitol Steps.
Right. So anyway, we're live back here at Tiger's Pride Restaurant. Tina Gorman, Executive Director of the Westfield Council on Aging, is my guest. Good morning again, Tina.
Good morning.
Thanks for getting up 2 days in a row. I
Thank you
appreciate
for having me.
Before we went to break, we were talking about funding, how things get paid for at the senior center. There are some things that do have costs. The meals. Because there's food involved. You got to buy the stuff. So $3 for a meal is nothing. And they're hearty lunches too.
It's actually your dinner. I mean, and a lot of people utilize it that way. And then for supper, they'll just have a sandwich, some yogurt,
snack,
cheese and crackers, some cut up veggies.
So, and then some of your exercise programs have a fee to them because you have a hired instructor that has to come in. But there's a lot of things that don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
most things don't.
Yep,
There are very few things that do. So how do those other things get paid for? I mean, where does the money come from?
Well, I want to go back to, I just want to finish up with fitness. There are 2 things. One is that I said some of the programs are contracted through the YMCA, so we get the instructors from the Y. Others are independent instructors. So those are what we call pay as you go, and you pay the instructor directly. There's no sign up, so there's no obligation. You can come, you could try it once or twice.
So what are some of those what's the pay as you go?
The yoga not the chair yoga, but the regular yoga. Renee Ricks, wife of Ron Ricks, teaches all of our yoga classes, and she's actually starting a new yoga class in July, which is called Chair Yoga Dance. So it's to music. It's really, she did the write-up for me for the July newsletter, and I said to her, this looks so fun. Who wouldn't want to try this? I think, and again, it's one of those things, you come and you try it. Right. You pay, So that, line dancing, we have a Zumba Gold class that meets on Monday mornings. I have a new instructor starting on Monday. So those are all pay as you go.
Okay, so let me ask you a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
I jokingly said earlier, I don't know how to spell Tai Chi.
Yeah.
But do you put in the Voice of Experience on a monthly basis descriptions of what is Zumba, what is Tai Chi, what is chair yoga, so people have a visual idea of...
I don't. However, we have a separate handout sheet at the Senior Center at the greeter's desk which I didn't bring it with me, but we have a separate handout sheet that explains, it's just for the fitness classes. Okay. So it kind of explains all of that, what the schedule is. And then, people just ask us too, people call and ask us, and if they want to go in and observe a class, they can do that. One of our most popular and expanding and growing classes, and thank you to the Westfield News for doing a lot of press releases on this, is our male call class. It's MALE call. It's an all-male fitness class. It's taught by Greg Hannum, who just graduated last week from Westfield State University from the Movement Science program. He had done it. He was doing an internship over with Conca, Steve Conca, which is in West Springfield. It's a fitness. And he has been hired by Steve, so that's really great. And he's actually going to be running a brand new Conca Fitness up in like Hadley or South Hadley. So he has been teaching the male call class on Monday mornings. That class is so popular. The men in the class, which keeps growing, insisted that they need to be doing this more than once a week. So we are adding Wednesday. So it'll be Monday and Wednesday mornings from 9 to 10.
And that's a pay-as-you-go?
It's pay-as-you-go. So that one is, the pay-as-you-go classes are, all of them are either $3, $4, or $5. Okay. And that you pay the instructor directly. I don't have anything to do with it. Everybody who takes a fitness class does have to sign a release of liability form, and they do have to change their footwear before they go in. Of course. And that brings me to the conclusion of my fitness, which was the story that we started which was a gentleman who said to me, pulled me aside a few weeks ago, and he said, I owe you an apology. And he's a regular at the Senior Center. I said, why? What'd you do? He said, behind your back, I was your biggest critic about this. Why do we have to take our shoes off when we, or why do we have to change our shoes when we go into the fitness room? And he said recently he took a yoga class at another senior center, and he said, the floor was it was filthy. I mean, it wasn't that it was just sand and dirt and all the things that people had brought in that day. I mean, it wasn't that it hadn't gotten swept the night before, but by the next morning when everybody's trumping everything in. And he said, and then the light bulb went off. And so I realized. So anyway.
Tina, you're not as mean a person as I've been telling everybody.
Well, I always say to people, including my staff, if I want things done a certain way, and I am particular, and I get it, it's almost always for a reason. I've got a reason. It's either a history of something happening.
Exactly.
Why can't we put 10 people at a table in the dining room? Because in the old senior center, people used to do that kind of stuff. And in a 1 month period, I had to call 911 3 times because it was too crowded and people were tripping over the chair legs because there were too many chairs around the table. So it's not that I don't want you to socialize with 9 of your friends. It's that 6 is comfortable. 7, we do it for special occasions, but that's because I have my staff doing the serving, not the seniors doing the serving. And so, we're a little bit more adept at kind of maneuvering around, but it's a safety issue. So anyway, I did want to get around to that. So in terms of budgeting, a lot of the programs and the activities are freebies because they're actually led by other seniors. So, and that's also how we end up doing program expansion. So for instance, when we first opened, I don't think we were open 6 months, and I had a group of women who came and said, we want to start a quilting group. I said, okay, well, I don't know anything about quilting. What do you need? And they said, space. They said, we're going to bring our own stuff. We just want a place to work on our stuff together to, to help each other out and to give each other advice and ideas and so forth. I said, space? I got space. Yeah. So, then it was just a matter of coming up with a time to use the room when, the art class wasn't there and the Sassy Stitchers weren't there and, so forth.
I love that name,
the Sassy Stitchers.
Yeah.
Again, another freebie. Yeah. I mean, and for that group, they work on a lot lot of projects that we donate to Bethlehem House, the Ronald McDonald House, Bay State the NICU.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if I recall correctly, the Sassy Stitchers are doing a project for the Westfield 350.
Yes, they are. No, that's actually the quilting group
it's the
that's
quilting
doing
group.
that.
Okay.
That's the quilting group that's doing that. But for the Sassy Stitchers, if they're working on projects that we donate, we supply the yarn. We get the yarn through donations. We just kind of put out a call. Sometimes I'll send you a press release. Hey, Patrick, we're running out of yarn. But I have to tell you, since we've been in the new senior center, we're not running out of anything. People are wonderful about
Good.
donating. So that's a free program. We have a chess group. Again, Les Hutton, who's a retired professor over at Westfield State, came to me
Teaches
several
chess.
years ago. I wanted, to do this chess group. Okay, so I got a group of people doing chess. So we just started a program called Historical Perspectives. Again, a retired, history instructor who wanted to, it's just a discussion group. They have a topic. And so, that's just a group of people. We have we have book groups. I mean, we have all kinds of groups like that are volunteer run. So it doesn't cost anybody anything.
Yeah.
They just need space and time. And, I put an article in the newsletter and the schedule in the newsletter. And so that's the expense of the senior center or really the department is the Council on Aging. The
Right.
building that
Is the
we're
senior
housing
center.
is the
It's-
senior
we always
center.
use interspersement,
It's
right?
not the same thing.
Yeah.
So the city budget, the money that I asked for the city is really mostly staffing. I mean, that's kind of across the board. Of course, there are supplies, but even with some of our supplies, we try to pay for those through some of our other programming, our lunch programming, and so forth. So a lot of it has to do with staffing.
Now, I know when you talk supplies, a mutual friend of ours, Brian Ferret, who's facilities manager for
Yeah.
the city of Westfield,
Yeah.
and I know he's tried to implement a lot of things.
Yes.
Why do we use 16 different toilet paper vendors
Yep,
throughout
or
the
paper
city,
towels.
or paper towels?
Yeah.
Why not use
Yep.
one vendor, keep them uniform across? Has
Yep.
that helped from a budgeting perspective for you?
I
or
think
for the
so.
other
Yeah,
departments?
I mean, I think so, and I think Brian was right on the money with that. So we've done some transitioning of our soap dispensers. So so now all the soap dispensers are uniform. So we're all ordering, sort of from the same.
Right.
It's the same stuff. Paper towels, which we really don't use a lot of paper towels. We have
the
air dryers in our bathrooms. We did have a problem with people
Flushing
putting,
them. Yeah,
toilet paper towels down the toilet. So we removed those and primarily just use that. And then, same thing with toilet paper. And I think it was actually Councilor Bob Paul when I went to him right after the senior center opened, saying, I need some more supply money because we had just opened. And one of the items I listed was toilet paper. And he went into this big thing about, well, doesn't everybody use it? And why aren't we all, I think he thought we should have like a warehouse full of toilet paper because the schools need it, the city hall needs it.
But
And essentially
starts a
that's what Tammy,
conversation of,
right?
wait a minute, you're
right,
right,
exactly. Well, in order to utilize the same, it sounds crazy, but in order to utilize the same toilet paper
roll.
stuff, we had to have these little brackets put on
Yeah.
because the best
dispenser.
deal that Brian found when we were able to adapt all of the dispensers that we already have. So it was just
Right.
a matter of getting these little plastic
Wow.
pieces, and Brian spent a week putting them on all over every stall in the city. Brian also was on my building. No, not on my building committee. He worked for P3 Owners Project Management
Right.
Group. So he knows the senior center intimately
Right,
because
right.
he was working for the OPM when we were building the center and then went to work for the city, which has been very helpful for us. That was a bonus. But anyway, so back to that budgeting. So a lot of the money goes for staffing. So the city is my biggest funder, and the second biggest funder is the state through my state formula grant.
Okay.
And that's based on it's a dollar amount per number of older adults in your city. So, of course, we're always fighting with the state legislature to give us more per elder. Last year, we got cut. We had been at 10 the year before. They dropped us down to 9-something. And of course, what you have to remember is when we get formula state grant funding, so here's another thing that nobody thinks about, it's based on the 2010 census.
Right, so you're
I'm getting
8 years
paid
old, yeah.
for just under 8,000 older adults. And as I said,
say,
we're
8,800?
we're up to 85 something. Yeah, so 85, 69, so almost 86. So there are 600 I'm getting $0 for.
Right.
So when we go to the state legislature, so if we get a cut, which we did last year in funding, it's really way more than what's on paper.
Exactly.
This year we are slated to get the raise that we've asked for, which will be
good.
$11 per elder. But with that money,
with the new numbers, census numbers, or no?
No. It's still
Okay,
we will be using the 2000 census numbers until 2022.
Right.
It takes it a couple years to catch up.
Yep.
But in my case, I want to add 2 part-time staff positions under my state grant. So because I'm shifting things around, I'm always trying to take things out of the city to put them in other places, so that if there are other departments that need that money more, I'm very conscious of that.
Now you also apply for,
Grants.
so you apply for grants constantly,
Yeah,
right? So there's,
I do.
I mean, the Sarah Gillette group, or Gillette or Gillette?
Gillette.
See, I always pronounce it wrong.
I do
there's,
too.
There's no E on the end, if I correct. So
Correct.
it's Gillette,
Yeah, it's
not
Gillette.
Gillette.
I know.
But there's Sarah Gillette. There's several other, groups that you apply
I know.
for.
You know what?
grant
I
money.
listed them because I can't remember them off the top of my. So my state formula grant is my biggest one. Community Development Block Grant. I apply for that every year. CDBG.
Blah.
The Sarah Gillette Services for the Elderly. I apply for the Senior Safe Grant. That's it's in partnership with the fire department, but they write the student safe part of it. I write the senior safe part of it, and then that grant has to go together. And then new this year, I applied for a grant through Bay State Health Community Benefit Grant, and we got that grant money. So that was a huge boost. Most of those grants, with the exception of the Senior Safe Grant, goes to Fran Aguda's companion program, because we don't pay the volunteers for that program, but we do pay their mileage. We pay their gas reimbursement. So that's, it's a lot of volunteers doing a lot of running around for a lot of the city's homebound frail seniors. So Fran's position is funded through the city. So, but that's all they give me for that program. Anything else to run that program, I've got to write the grants, which I do. And, some people think that we have like a professional grant writer working for the city.
You are it.
Well, each department, so I'm it for my department. And it all depends on the department, how many grants you write, who's doing them.
Grant
we're
writing's
doing
not easy.
Well, it's not only the grant writing. That's only the first step. Once you get the grant, you have reports that you have to do. You have a year-end report. So for all of these grants, I just did my semi-annual for Bay State Noble or Bay State Health for that community benefits grant, which I was very happy to get. It was a $5,000 grant, so that was very significant. But it also took me like an entire weekend to do the semi-annual report for them, which I've never done before because it's the first time I've ever applied for the grant. But there's a lot of work involved in the upkeep of the grant. I think that's what, again, it's all this behind the scenes stuff. People wonder like, why are you there on the weekends? Well, because I can't write grants when my phone is ringing.
Exactly.
I'm putting out fires. People are coming in, the emergency light generator light the alarm is going on. It's just like, I can't do it then. I can't write my newsletter then.
You got a full-time job.
And my newsletter, Gary thinks that that's all I do. Because every time, it's like, I have to go in and work on the newsletter. He's like, didn't you just do that? I said, I know it seems like it was yesterday. It was actually like 3 weeks ago.
Right.
But that's one of those ongoing, I'm always working on the newsletter because, I'm always figuring out what has to go in this month.
What can go in those 8 pages?
Well, you know what, Patrick?
There's so much going on.
So
that's the
much
problem,
to put
right?
it. That's my problem. I'm scrambling around. I'm like trying, but I absolutely, if it's a new program, if we're expanding something, I want to do an article about it. And I also hold myself to a very high standard on the newsletter. I consider myself a good writer, and it just irritates the heck out of me. I get other newsletters from other senior centers, and it just drives me crazy when I can't get through 3 paragraphs on the front page and I've already got 5 errors. And
right. And the Voice of Experience is quite a fine production.
It is a fine production, and thank you to the Westfield News and for Patrick, because
she may need help editing that one of these days.
Well, the interesting
She's on her own.
And I'm on my own. I'm completely on my own with that one. But you know what? It's interesting because prior to just to give people a 30-second Cliff Notes background, almost all the senior centers across the state used to use an organization. It was a family-run sort of newsletter thing, and they did almost all the newsletters. There are 325 senior, councils on aging, and they were out of Boston. And when mom and dad decided they were ready to retire, none of the kids wanted to take it over.
Wow.
So it folded, and 325 of us are scrambling around trying to figure out what to do, and a lot of them went to the liturgical bulletins. There's a place in Connecticut, and they do
church bulletin type.
Right, and we just had a lot of problems with that. It just wasn't working for us. It's different doing a weekly church bulletin and doing a monthly senior newsletter. And so show up, Jim McKeever on my doorstep, and how can we partner? It was shortly after you took over the paper.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, that is a godsend, a blessing. It's awesome.
And of course, we have to thank all your sponsors for
absolutely.
for helping put that together.
Absolutely.
It is 7:43 in the morning, Thursday, May 31st. Taking our last break, Tina.
I know, I can't believe
We only got
it.
one segment left, so we're going to take a break. Thank some of our underwriters. We'll be right back.
Baby loves me, yes, yes she does. All the girls out of sight, yeah. Says she loves me, yes, yes she does. Gonna show me tonight, yeah. Hey, she got the way to move me, cherry. She got the way to move me. She got the way to move me, cherry, baby. She got the way. All right. Tell your mama, girl, I can't stay long. We got things we gotta catch up on. You know what I'm saying. Can't stand still while the music is playing. Alright. You ain't got no right, no, you don't. Ought to be so exciting. Won't need bright lights, no, we won't. Gonna make our own lightning. Hey, she got the way to move me, cherry. She got the way to move me, cherry, baby. She got the way to move me. She got the way to move me. No, won't tell a soul we're gone to. Girl, we do whatever we want to. I love the way that you do. Cherry, baby, really get to me. Hey, she got the way to move me, cherry. She got the way to prove me, cherry, baby. She got the way to move me. She got the way to prove me, cherry. She got the way to prove me.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Commercial Distributing Company of Westfield. Now in its third generation of family ownership, Commercial is one of the premier beverage distributors of Western Massachusetts. The Plasek family and the staff of Commercial Distributing wishes you good times throughout the year and urges you to drink responsibly.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Barnes & Noble College Bookstore in the Ely Campus Center, offering Westfield State t-shirts, sweatshirts, and gift merchandise, all of your academic needs, and offering textbook materials in new, used, ebook, and rental formats. Available at the bookstore on campus or online at westfieldstate.bncollege.com.
We thank the generosity of our underwriters. For more information, please contact the Westfield State Foundation at 413-572-8646. Wednesday mornings start off right from 6 to 8 a.m. with Tina Gorman and Wake Up Wednesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from the campus of Westfield State University, This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Live around the world.
You're listening to the Westfield News Radio Show on WSKB 89.5 FM Westfield.
Here's your host, the owner of the Westfield News Group, Patrick Barry.
Good morning again, everyone. 7:48 a.m., Thursday, May 31st, 2018. 60 degrees outside your door, getting up to 77 today. It's bright and clear right now. The clouds will filter in later this afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock, right near the dinner hour. Very, very slight chance of a stray sprinkle, and again, randomly. So, I mean, 90% chance of nothing.
There you go.
See? Keep it positive, Pete. Keep it positive. Like I said, 77 degrees today. However, overnight tonight, the threat of rain becomes greater. You'll probably see some sprinkles on your commute tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's high is 83. The sprinkles in the morning and then tapers off, and the remainder of tomorrow should be okay. Saturday, June 2nd. Tomorrow is June 1st, by the way. Oh, tomorrow night, St. Mary's High School graduation. And Gateway Regional High School graduation. Saturday morning, June 2nd, is Southwick Tolland Granville Regional graduation. And Saturday will be 85 and cloudy with chance of sprinkles throughout the day. Cold front comes through, and then Sunday, high is 73, mostly sunny. And then Monday through Thursday next week, cool. The first part of the week, we got a 50% chance of rain most days, Monday through Wednesday. And then Thursday, not. The chance of rain disappears, but cool. Monday through Thursday's highs are only barely getting it to 60 degrees. So hopefully that changes and this weather forecast is incorrect. That's what's going on at 7:49 a.m. We're live back here at Tiger's Pride Restaurant with my guest, Tina Gorman. It is not Wednesday morning, and we're not waking up with Tina, although we did. But Tina I invited Tina in to talk about what's going on with her, what's going on with the senior center, and that kind of stuff. And we've covered a lot of ground in an hour and 45 minutes.
I'm calling this segment Behind the Scenes.
Behind the Scenes.
Right.
So you are not a dictator of the Council on Aging.
Despite what people may think.
Right. You are the executive director. However, there is a board. You have a Council on Aging board that you report to, right?
Correct, yeah.
And then there's a separate group called the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center.
Yep, totally separate.
So give us in a
nutshell
very
kind of
brief,
what that means.
What are those two boards? Why are they different?
Okay. The Council on Aging Board is the board. There are 7 board members. They are appointed by the mayor, and that's the board that I don't want to say I answer to them. We kind of work in partnership, but we set policy. We make recommendations for the mayor or the city council, depending on what the issue is. But generally speaking, they are the ones that look at policies, procedures, guidelines. So they will set up subcommittees and make recommendations. And oftentimes I'll be on a subcommittee, but not always. Sometimes they do that completely on their own. They'll do the research on it. We actually just have 2 new board members that were appointed in February. So right now our board is Jim Liptak is our chair. Carrie Ann Cabasa, who was on our building committee. Carrie lives in Westfield, but was the director of the Granby, Connecticut Senior Center for many years, and was also, you talk about knowledgeable, she was on the certification committee for NISC, which is the National Institute of Senior Centers. You can become certified under NISC, and Carrie was one of the people that went around to decide who got certified and who didn't. So we put her on, former Mayor Knappich put her on the building committee. She was just a wealth of information in terms of what we needed to do and look at. And, so anyway, Carrie is now our vice president of the board. Our secretary is Attorney Cynthia Anderson, who's been on the board for a number of years and has served as secretary. I can't tell you how important it is to have, legal piece of it. Our treasurer is Barbara Taylor, who's been on the board. She is, I think, now just starting her 2nd term. And then we have Liz Boucher, Eileen Rockwall, who just was appointed in February, and Alan Sudentis, who's been volunteering forever. So it's a nice mix. The boards have
different ages, different backgrounds.
Well, by law, you have to have 51 more than 50% have to be made up of older adults. Okay. Which that's not a problem there. So they helped us policy. The Friends of the Westfield Senior Center is completely separate. They don't have anything to do with the city. They don't answer to the mayor or anybody else.
That's right. We don't answer to the mayor.
That's right. You're on that board.
Stinking mayor.
That's strictly a fundraising.
Right.
That's the fundraising arm. And so different board of directors, which Patrick is on that board. You are on that board. So anyway, yeah. So part of the issue. So each year, when Jack Leary was chair of the board, which he served as chair for several years, Jack really wanted me to come up with my goals for the year. You know, what do you hope to accomplish? So I thought that was really a good idea. Sort of some strategic
So what's the plan
plans.
for 2019?
Yep, exactly. So here's what I have.
She's got a list.
So I have a list. So I gave this to the board at the beginning of the fiscal year.
The Council on Aging Board, not the
This
Friends
is the
Board.
Council on Aging Board,
Yes.
correct. So one is the implementation of a smoking cessation program for city employees and Westfield older adults utilizing funding through the city health department. So that's something that I'm working on with Joe Rouse. That has been slow out of the gate. However, I'm presenting at a conference in Worcester on Wednesday, and I'm also attending the conference. And one of it's called Aging with Dignity, and it's really mostly about addictions. So the first session I'm going to is on a smoking cessation and how to set up a plan and so forth. So I'm hoping to bring back some really good information on that so we can get that process going. My next goal was creation of a citywide hoarding task force, and I've been really working hard at that. I've identified who we want on that task force, both city employees. I mean, believe it or not, there are a number of department heads who asked to be put on that task force.
And a number of departments that are affected by it. You know,
Correct.
You've had the conversation with Joe Rouse.
Board of Health.
There are a number of hoarders in Westfield.
Oh, absolutely.
And unfortunately for Westfield, in the last few years, we've had a couple of deaths because of that.
Right, so that puts fire and police on there, building inspector. But I've also reached out to Sue West at the Carson Center. I'd like somebody who kind of specializes in that. So we're formulating that. But in the meantime, I've also started to, as you know, Patrick, as we have had this conversation, I'm starting to do a lot of research on just the accumulation of possessions. Not necessarily that it gets to the hoarding stage, but just why does that happen and how do people get control over that? I'm going to be offering a workshop series, 2 workshops in June on downsizing in place, which is my new big thing. And that's actually what I'm going to be presenting at the conference in Worcester next week. So that strategic goal, I feel like I'm on it. We're working on it. My third one was the expansion of senior center programming to include a minimum of 18 evening or weekend programs during fiscal year 2018. And I actually have to go back and look at where I am on my number right now. That excludes, we were offering a Zumba class in the evening. We're not anymore, but I didn't include that anyway because that was every week. And that's not what the goal was. The goal was to do primarily some educational programming, maybe some entertainment. So like we had Sarah the Fiddler for a Sunday afternoon concert. So that was a weekend thing.
The things that you're suggesting, are they all for seniors or
not necessarily? They don't necessarily.
Sarah the Fiddler was open to the public,
correct? And also as were the candidate forums that we hosted at the senior center. I mean, those
does
were
that fall into this?
Yes, it absolutely falls into it. So anytime when we're opening the doors to the senior center, first of all, if it's an evening or a weekend program and we're opening the doors, it has to be something that's beneficial to seniors, not necessarily exclusively to seniors, but beneficial to seniors. So so the candidate forums would count. Tonight we have Hyman Darling, attorney Hyman Darling, who is I call him the guru of elder law, is doing a presentation at the senior center. We have Selena Conway from the PACE program. Mercy Pace is doing a presentation June 12th, I believe it is, in the evening. Some of these I'm setting up not just for the seniors, but for their families so they can get the information. So we have that. We have our Father's Day rock and roll concert, which will be a Friday evening. So in June, I've got like 3 or 4 coming up right out of the gate.
If you're bored in Westfield.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, well on our way on that one. And the fourth and fifth are interesting. The fourth one is development of LGBT-friendly programs and services through the Westfield Council on Aging for those who are 60 plus.
I get the feeling...
This would be a whole 2-hour topic.
But I get the feeling that topic is going to be a lot like grandparents raising grandchildren. Pardon the pun. people are going to come out of the woodwork for
Yes.
that. You know, it's
Yeah.
just, it's one of those things where that generation, you
Yeah.
kind of kept it quiet. You did what you had to do.
Absolutely.
Grandparents raising grandchildren. All of
Yep.
a sudden it's, oh, wait a minute, there's a support group for this? And
Yeah.
now there's
Yep.
a lot of people involved. Same thing with the LGBT.
Yeah, it's
RST,
huge.
Whatever.
LGBT. Well, and interestingly, Denny Akins is helping me on that one, and he and I attended a training at Westfield State University called Safe Zone.
Danny
it was
with-
wonderful.
Or Denny, rather, with his political knowledge. He worked in the Massachusetts
Yes.
state government for
Yeah.
I mean, he's
He's an
my God.
amazing resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he was one of
Good
the
for
first
you.
people I
Good for
reached
you.
out to help me set up. So we're going to be setting up a steering committee. So that one, again, through the Safe Zone training, we're Denny and I are kind of on our way with that.
Excellent.
And that's going to be, none of these are going to be like, okay, we're going to set up this program tomorrow and we're
You gotta
done.
learn about
These
it.
are like, this is a journey. This is
Yeah.
like the beginning of a many years and
like building a
probably
senior center.
Yeah, exactly. And then my last one, which is very interesting, it was work with the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center to open the gift shop to full capacity.
That got scrapped.
And it did because it got replaced.
Sort of, kind of.
Well, it got replaced with the whole idea of our senior safety office.
But again, we learned as we went.
Exactly.
The gift shop sounds great idea, but then all of a sudden you said, wait a minute, I've got a lot of need for private space for people
Yeah.
to have a conversation with. Mark
Yeah,
Carbonell,
with a community police
Yeah,
officer.
right.
And there, by the way, there was my third thing. When you asked what you have done
okay.
differently, it was the gift shop. I wouldn't have put that in. I kind of got talked into that. It sounded like a great idea. There was
Still sounds like a good idea.
Well,
but-
there was some gift shop over in the eastern part of the state that was, that's bringing in like, I don't know, $600 a month or $400 a month, whatever it is. And I think it was the OPM, the Owners Project Management Group, that this was like a moneymaker. But, of course, what he didn't point out, because he probably didn't know, was it's also hugely time consuming. Somebody's got to run it. Volunteers come and go,
Yeah.
But anyway, the other piece of that was that we really did find that we had this need for police involvement. I've got Mark Carbonell. I was on the phone with Mark again. I mean, we had an issue with an older adult earlier in the week, a real crisis situation. So we're really excited about the senior safety office.
Good.
We have the furniture in there now. We have the shades up as of this week. So we're just waiting for
Excellent.
that door. And
Excellent.
we're hoping to
Excellent.
move Mark in, sometime in June or early July.
Very good. Our time is almost up.
I know, which is
It's
hard-
basically
it's hard
it
to
is
believe.
Up, but
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
When it comes to the exercise programs, do you ever play jokes on people like, oh, if you're looking for the pool, it's on the third floor?
No, I haven't done that.
May I suggest?
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Pete.
Anyway, Tina, thank you so very much for joining me this
You're
morning. I really do appreciate it. Again, I learned so much. I know you and I have become very good friends over the last few years, but I learned a ton today.
Yeah.
These
Good.
things I
I'm
just
glad.
didn't know, and I'm hoping the listeners did the same thing.
Yes, and I'm hoping some of the city councilors were listening.
I know. I know.
Honestly, they're great about, I'm constantly feeding them information, but it is a lot to take in.
Right.
So if they could kind of hear it all in one segment, it might answer some of the questions that they have
Right.
as well.
And because if any of the counselors are listening and any of those counselors are under the age of 60, because of your elected position, you can go to the senior center, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, Matt Emershai was there last week. He wanted to do lunch with us, and so we put some flyers up and said he's going to be here. I made an announcement and it was really hysterical. He came in at the beginning of lunch, so I made an announcement. The seniors were already sitting. I introduced him, and I said, and by the way, Matt is looking for a place to, he was going to have lunch with them. I said he needs a place to sit. Immediately, everybody's hands are,
Everybody
sit with us,
left.
sit with
No,
us.
I'm just kidding, Matt.
Everybody was like, come and sit with us. It's a
Good.
very welcoming
Good.
place, and
Good,
I thought that was great. And he was there for at least 2 hours because
Wow.
there
Good
were
for
all
him.
kinds of people. Well, when I gave him the tour of the facility, because he had never really toured it, he didn't get the 50-cent
Yep.
tour.
Yep.
Took him up to the games room, and the guys are up there playing poker or whatever they were doing. And as soon as they said, hey, aren't you the city councilor? Come here, we want to talk to you. So I said to him, all right, you go do your thing,
Right.
Matt. I'm out of here. You've had the tour. So, but it was great. It was really good. So thank you for having me.
No,
it's a great
thank
opportunity.
You. Next week on the old Westfield News Radio Show, DPW Superintendent Dave Billups and Systems Engineer Heather Staten are on the show. The following week, Thursday the 14th, is a best of, because don't forget, Pete, I'm not around. Thursday the 21st, I have St. Mary's new high school principal,
Collins?
Matt Collins, is coming
Nice.
in. Thursday the 28th, Karen Fannion. City
Nice.
Clerk Karen Fannion. The following week is 4th of July. We got to figure out what we're doing on Thursday, July 5th, Pete. I'm thinking best of. All right.
There you
and
go.
then
That's fine.
we're into July, and that's July 12th, Thursday, July 12th. We're live at the South Middle School for the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce Pancake Breakfast. And there's the bell. It's time for us to go.
Okay, we're out of here.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me 2 hours of your time. I will see you on the radio next Thursday.